Welcome to Chasing Hard podcast, where we talk about trusting God when life doesn't turn out the way you plan. If you've been alive for any amount of time, then you've probably experienced at least one time in your life when life didn't go the way you planned. It may have been just a minor thing that just a bump in the road. It may have changed the trajectory of your life, or it may have been somewhere in between, and it may have been multiple things. I am excited today to have my guest, Spanky Ferris, correct?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Welcome, Spanky, to the
Thank
podcast.
you.
We sort of connected on Instagram because I was looking for mothers of adult children navigating maybe difficult situations, and you popped up. So, welcome
Mm,
to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I love this. I love it so much. Just finding other moms with adult kids and navigating uncharted waters. I feel like anything we can get from each other is like a life raft.
Yeah, and I feel like there's not a lot of conversation going on in my circles anyway. The people that I've talked to lately, it's like they're like, yeah, but I'm not. I mean, it's like they've never had these conversations before, and I guess I get it. They're not always easy. So if you've been alive for any amount of time, then I'm sure you've experienced just one thing in your life that didn't go quite how you anticipated. If you have anything like that, then we'd love to hear
I think it's my entire life.
it. Amen
I
to
don't
that.
think one thing has gone as anticipated yet. I'm not saying never, but I'm saying yet. I'm still holding out for that.
That's great.
For
That's
God
good.
isn't rerouting me completely.
Right. Yeah. Anything in particular that sticks out in your mind, or do you just want to tell us a little bit about your story? I mean, we were talking before,
Yeah.
and you share some. I mean, it's an interesting life story for sure.
Yeah, I was a college student and I was doing the best that I could, I guess at the time, not really understanding the gravity of what God could do. And I think I was, the quintessential, and I hate to say that, but I do feel like, at least in my circles, and even still what I see today, I was going to church on Sunday and I was going to the student ministries on Wednesday, but I was going to the bars on Thursday and, taking the shots on Friday. And next thing you know, I found myself, pregnant and making something work with somebody that I wasn't in love with, didn't fall in love with, didn't date even. I mean, it was just kind of one of those situations. We had gone to high school, we knew each other, we had a friendship, and I thought the friendship could make a lasting thing work. Obviously, especially to in this period of life, I think things are a little different generations later, but like in
Right.
this season of my life, it was kind of expected, like you've got to make the wrong right.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of pressure to kind of right my wrongs. And so I got married on a random Thursday night on
Um,
bed rest, did like literally pants unzipped because I didn't even have maternity clothes at this point. Like the
um,
whole thing, like when you say, did things not go the way, like
that's
literally,
it.
that's not what I dreamed of as a kid.
Right.
But what I did was think, I have a baby now and I'm going to make I will sacrifice my life so he has a life.
Mm.
And I gave him siblings and I gave him everything that I didn't have. So I thought. And so I made this relationship work. We were friends in the beginning. We were never, I can only speak from my side. I was never in love, but we had a friendship. And somewhere along the way, that friendship dissipated. I think it was one thing to hold something together when you could at least go through the notions with all the kids and the ball and the travel and the stresses and all the things. But when the friendship started fading and it
Mhm.
started turning into literally arch enemies living in the same household, um, again, trying to make my wrongs right. Maybe I'm just a little hard headed, just praying that things would change. But like I
For
kept
sure.
staying, and I stayed thinking I was doing right by my kids. And I waited until my three boys graduated and my daughter was a sophomore in high school when I left. I
Mm.
filed for divorce four different times over a 5-year period. It was a very hard exit.
Sure.
One, he didn't want that, but two, I just felt so guilty. I
Mm.
felt so guilty. And when I finally did leave, boy, things were not what I expected yet again. I mean, when they're little, court orders them to come to your house on such days, right?
Right, right.
When you wait until they're older and you think
Mm.
you're doing the right thing, they get to choose if they are
Mhm.
accepting this part of your story and this journey and the season you're in or not. And I've had some who've walked through some really hard with me, and I've had some that have blamed me for the hard.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
all I can do is trust God. I mean, every morning it's a prayer. Lord, I
Right.
lay it at your feet. You know, I believe that you will restore this whenever you feel the
Mm.
lessons have been learned on either side.
Yep.
But I can't lose any more sleep and I can't shed any more tears over it, you know?
Right. Yep. Because we only have so much power. And really, our power comes down to how we respond to the situations that we find ourselves a part of. We can't decide for other people. Um, and I love what you said about, and it just blew my, there was so much that you said. But the one thing that I loved that I now can't remember, but I'm sure it'll come back to me. So let's just carry on.
Yeah.
Um, so, well, how old were you? How old?
I was 22. So
Okay.
ironically, again, talk about like not generations not learning lessons, right? And like, you know, I was 22 when I had my son. My mom was
Okay.
22 when she had me, and then my older son was 22 when he had his firstborn. So we were just
Wow.
repeating
Yep.
patterns. And I am the one who I don't want to make it sound like I feel, you know, so powerful about this, but I'm the generational breaker.
Yes. Own
That
it.
transference is going to stop with me, even if I have to be, and for the lack of better term, like the sacrificial lamb in this. If my kids don't see what I'm doing, but I save my grandkids from going through something or my
Yeah.
great
I love
grandkids,
that.
then I will lay down all relationships.
Yep.
But I'm sick of what's got a hold of our family.
I like that
The
because it's true. And the Bible talks about the generational curse. I
Mhm.
mean, I feel like we pass down propensities and different, addictions or whatever. Um, if we stop and look at the similarities in the things that we've gone through, we see it repeated in our lifeline. And we're leaving a legacy. Like whether we know it or not, we're all leaving a legacy. It's just what legacy are we leaving? So I like that you're being very intentional about, hey, I'm gonna break it at all costs. That's a cool thing.
Yeah, and I don't think they're old enough to understand it.
No.
They they aren't there yet. And so a lot of moms' boundaries and a lot of moms' hard stops um, don't serve the narrative that they want. And
Mm,
so sometimes, you know, I'm painted as the bad guy and I have to just say, but what I'm doing is bigger than right now. It's bigger
right,
than right what you see.
right.
And you know, I really do believe at some age, and there is no right or wrong age, but I feel like your kids turn from a child to an adult,
Hmm.
and it's their responsibility to choose to see things differently. And if they want to carry on playing with the mindset of a child or the victim mindset or things aren't going, you
Mm,
know, the mom that was in the household that suppressed and that shut down version of mom worked for me. Now there's a different version.
yeah.
There's a mom who is like coming out of that and like
Mm,
spreading her wings and discovering me. I mean, and I think that's like a really hard thing to really, it's something that you don't think about, right? When you're going, when this whole unexpected thing is coming through, you know, you think, okay, you know, backtracking a little bit, like I stayed for the kids.
right.
But your kids didn't, they got to know a shell of me. They
Mm,
didn't get to know who I was. I didn't know who I was. I was just
right.
this like literal, like just kind of repressed version of who God created me to be, to keep peace and to keep it quiet and to make it just kind of
Mm,
mask over everything so everybody else was comfortable.
right.
And
Um,
when I get out of that
yeah.
person,
So I hear you saying and all of that. It's like I think a lot of us, most of us maybe, do the best we can at the time that we're like, you didn't know. Like you don't know what you can't know.
Right.
And we don't know that the things that we're doing, that especially when we're young, the choices that we make will affect people that we possibly may never meet because of that generational thing. And so it's like that, it's the saying, not education is wasted on the young. I mean, it's like wisdom. Sometimes a lot of you are put in a position as a young person to make decisions that will affect the rest of your life, and you have no idea. You have
No.
no idea that that's what's happening, and therefore you're just making this decision and this one, not knowing that they all fit together and that they're going to affect the rest of your life and the people in your life. And that's a hard thing to come to terms with.
Mhm. And when you're young too, you just kind of listen to the guidance of other people, but they're not living your life, they're not walking your walk, and they're
Right.
kind of just doing what maybe was told by society or the picture painted by their parents of what was expected.
True.
And there was no way, no way that I should have married the man that I married. And what could have been adjusted and readjusted and recalculated at 22 didn't start until 45.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lifetime of just digging a hole deeper and deeper and deeper that you had to climb out
Right.
of,
Right.
and but you
Yeah.
don't know when you're
No, you
doing
don't
it.
know. You don't. So did you feel, was there actual pressure from your parents, other people in your life, important people, or was it your perception of pressure to do that?
Probably both.
Okay.
Probably both. I do know just our circle at the time, obviously. um, I could go into so much, but for lack of and
Yeah.
it's hard at this point too, because I have so much story to tell, but again, until my kids are ready to accept the story that is, I can't me
Right.
telling my story inadvertently tells theirs, and I want to wait until just to honor them
Yeah, for sure.
to tell it, but yet still not keep my story repressed. And that's really hard.
It is
That I
hard.
mean, it's so hard. And
It's a
and again,
balancing act.
our parents did kind of, I guess, the best that they knew to do at the time as
At the time.
well, but it
Mhm.
was just wrong advice after wrong advice and bad
Right.
decision after bad decision. So I definitely felt, I mean, literally got married on a random like Thursday night, like because our friend's dad was a preacher and they were pressuring us to get married. And
Mhm.
at the time, my then husband he was the one he wanted it. And I was the one that had reservations. And like, let's just like give this a second. Like let it marinate a second. Let's have this baby. Let's see how things go. We didn't really date. And that was the hard thing too in a marriage where I felt my story was so suppressed because so many people tell you, and I don't know if you've heard this over the years of being married as long as you have, if you can go back to the beginning, just remember why you fell in love. Let that moment hold you through the hard times. I didn't fall in love. I didn't have a moment to hold on to. There was nothing to grasp when I was just being rushed down the rapids of the river. There was nothing
Yeah.
to hold on, you
And
know?
I get that. And so my story was a little different. And I grew up in the same subdivision with my husband. And so we were friends for a lot of years before we fell in love. Um, and so I mean friendship, oh gosh, friendship held it together for a long time. But just because of the different things that had taken place, the different it was hard. And I was just trying to hold it together. When kids came along, I was still just trying to do the best that I could and hold everything together and protect them from what I was trying to protect them from, and not really knowing that that protection was actually maybe more harmful than good. Um, but this is where we are. Like this is so. What do I do with where we are? Is kind of where I land. And I did remember what I was going to say when you were talking earlier. Um, and I don't even know what you said, but it reminded me of talking with my kids and listening to them and their perception
Mhm.
of how they were raised.
Mhm.
And like I don't want to try to change their perception, but it's not always accurate. And so I can provide some accuracy. Like you can have your perception, you can think, I'm the bad guy or whatever. But if you want to know some accurate facts about what actually happened, I can tell you. and obviously I'm just one person in the story, but I can tell you from where I sit, the accuracies of your perception.
Yep. Yep.
And they're not always open to that, and maybe they will never be open to that.
Well, and I struggle too because I don't want to be the one to badmouth their dad. That's not my,
Right.
but he
Yeah.
is a completely different dad than he was a husband. So my perception of him
Mm,
as a husband is null and void to them because they aren't living and getting and
right.
receiving that end of him. So,
Right.
I see so many parents, especially, walking through not only my divorce, but then watching my now husband navigate his divorces and the stuff that his exes, like just and just seeing kind of from different windows, right?
Hmm.
And I know, like, I don't want to be the one to badmouth him because, again, my perception and my reality. However, there is a lot of unhealed and unresolved issues in him. And we know the saying of hurt people hurt people.
Hurtful. Mm,
And as a mom, I don't want to be the one to talk negatively about their dad because,
for
again, I
sure.
respect them, but I do struggle with this balance of also knowing because I've had to study behaviors to understand what was going on with me in my life to even like pinpoint what was broken in this person that
Right.
wasn't being healed and how was he destroying me in the process. But then because of these unhealed wounds, he's also capable of destroying my kids. So how do I gently plant these seeds just to open their eyes to say, hey, when dad is acting like X, Y, and Z, don't take that personal. That's not a you thing. That's a dad thing. That's an unresolved issue from dad that
Good.
he's carrying, but it's not your issue without making it sound
Right.
like so I'm having to
Yes.
navigate that like
That's
weird,
good.
gently planting seeds, gently
Mhm.
opening eyes without it being, and I'm sure there are days where I just get fed up with it and I probably say more than I should. And they probably are like, Mom, I don't want to hear it.
Yep.
But I'm still the mom. I
You're
still
still
want
the
to
mom.
protect them. I
Yep.
still want to and protect them from anyone at all cost, even if it's someone
Right.
they dearly love, and even if it's hard. It is
Yep.
hard.
And your kids are grown.
Hmm.
Um, and even if your kids are grown, that doesn't change the mother's heart. Like that's what you're talking about. My youngest is 29 and lives across the country. Just got married. Like I'm dealing with a lot of that. Like I dealt with when he moved across country 4 years ago and grieved that process. And so wasn't really prepared for how the him getting married would impact me yet again. And I'm still processing that because that was only 2.5 weeks ago. Um, it's hard. It's hard to navigate those things, even when your kids are grown, because you still have that mother's heart.
Well, and two, I you don't love anyone like you love your kids,
Mm,
but your kids see you as mom. They don't see you as somebody who was wounded and has their own bag of problems and
yep.
issues, insecurities and hurts and all the things. And I feel they are the single-handed most able to hurt me more than anybody who's ever walked this planet. More, and I'm carrying wounds from my mom and from my dad and from those. And then my kids come and you love them and you think, finally,
Mm,
someone that like fresh start, like you could, and then they grow up and then they hurt you and they inadvertently, they don't mean to, but they
no,
don't,
for
they
sure.
don't know the wounds and baggage you're carrying.
No.
And so they are so insensitive to what they're doing. And they're at this age, I can't stand the Britney Spears song, like, what is it? Not a girl, but not yet a woman. I feel like that's my kids are not a kid, but they're not yet an adult. They're like
Right.
not able to see things. And I just continually just pray, like, Lord, I know it's just going to take time. I know it's going to take
Hmm.
time.
And it's also hard, I think, as a kid to face the mm, to face what's broken with like your parents are on a pedestal for so long until
Mhm.
you're in your teens and then you're like, hey, they're real people and they got issues too. And but they're never really like real people. I think you always
Yep.
expect a little more from your parents, and so it's hard to face the reality of what your life was or what your relationship is with your
Mhm.
parents. It's hard. Even I'm 65 years old. My mother is still living, and I still have issues with my mother that were never resolved, and I'm not even sure she's aware of that.
Oh, yeah, I'm not even on speaking terms with my mother, which is devastating
Yeah,
because I would never want my kids to do that to me.
yeah,
But I see it differently in the fact that, like, my mother will not look inside. She will not own anything. She will not take it, it is always what other people are doing to her. And I've told her, if this mindset serves you, but you don't have a real great relationship with any of your kids, you don't have a real great relationship with any of your grandkids, if that's serving you, then keep it up.
yeah,
But whenever you're ready to stop using the wounds from your past as your excuse for your behaviors today, you don't even have to meet me halfway. Take one step and
one
I'll be
step.
there.
Yes,
And like, and I say this all the time, I'm so passionate about like owning your story because, they say like you're best suited to serve the one you used to be.
I like
I
that.
feel that takes a step deeper for me simply because the most hurt person I've ever been, I didn't get myself there by myself. Like I
Right.
who bled on me that didn't heal their own cuts. So then I'm sitting
Yeah.
here absorbing all of this. And I just kind of think like my biggest message again is kind of like to my mom, like if you would just own your story, it doesn't have to define you,
Right.
but you need to honor
Yes.
and you need to respect it and you need to keep it into check because it is not your excuse to allow it to control your behaviors.
That's
You can
good.
be hurt. You can, and they say hurt people, but the reality is I'm hurt. I'm sure you have hurts. We don't go around hurting people.
Right.
It's
That's
hurt
true.
people who don't want to take a second to look at their hurts, hurt people. I hurt, but I stop it before it bleeds forward.
Yeah. Because
You know,
we're all responsible, whether we know
absolutely.
everything or not, but we're responsible for our actions, no matter what we've gone through, because yeah, we just are. Gosh, so many things though that you just said again, that it's good stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm trying to control my brain in a very calm way and go, okay, what has gone on in the past? What has been passed down? What turns have been made that were wrong? And how can we
mm,
readjust? And how can we change what's going on in this family?
mhm.
Again, like you said, the
Yeah,
generational transference, like enough
yep,
is enough. And I
right,
think that it just takes someone saying, this isn't serving our family.
right.
This attitude, this mindset, this behavior is not serving our family. We've got to stop it. And even if it's been exampled so long that I'm stopping it, but my kids don't see it. Hopefully it continues to just water down by the time my grandkids and my great grandkids, it's going to disappear. And it might
Right.
not disappear quick enough that I see it, but I'm hoping that the work that I'm
For sure.
doing today, it's like
We'll
at least
carry on.
starting it.
Do you have grandkids?
I do. I have three.
Uh,
I
but they're
do.
young.
Yes, I've got a 3-year-old and an almost 1-year-old, and well, I
Oh,
guess 3.5 at this point, one, and then a 2-month-old.
so sweet.
It is so sweet.
So tell me, you're remarried, and I'm
Hmm.
assuming because he was married before, there are other children. Like how's that go? Like how does that work with everything that you're working through with your biological kids? Like how and you add in the steps.
Yeah. It's, you know what? Okay. This is something too I'm very passionate about because again, I try to put myself in other people's positions. My kids did not ask for to be brought into the relationship that they got brought into with their dad and I. And they definitely didn't ask to get thrown into a divorce. So and then again, I waited until they were older, thinking that was the better thing to do. So when I divorced, I kept any kind of dating life just to myself. It was not their business. What I was going through was not anybody else's
Mm,
business. And then I reconnected with my next door neighbor from college 25 years prior. And we just developed, this friendship. We were going through similar hard things in like life. And he was just a safe space. And
mm.
he was everything that love was supposed to be. But at 19, you just didn't know that love wasn't supposed to be, high highs and low lows. It could
Yeah.
be pretty safe and easy. And you didn't know
Stable is
that.
good. Yes. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, when we started dating, the first thing I did is I told all of my kids, I am seeing somebody. He's a great guy, but this is my story and this is my journey. And you can be involved as much as you want or as little as you want. He is not ever, and then as things progress, they all kind of trickled in and met him a little at a time. And, um, when we got married, I told him, he's not your stepdad. Like, you're too old for a stepdad. You don't need a stepdad.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Honor and respect him as my husband, but don't ever feel like you have to call him your
Mm,
stepdad. His kids don't have to be your step brother, they're 25, they're having their own kids. They don't
right.
need to see. And so I let them figure it out on
That's
their
good.
own. And I've never tried to force anything. And the
Mm,
same with my husband Jamie, his kids. They were 18, 17, and 13. Now the 13-year-old obviously like just kind of the girls, the younger ones, the girls like just that was easier. The boys, we kind of just do whatever you want on your own
mm,
terms, however you want. And I tell them all the time, you already have a mom. You don't need me. You don't need me. I'm just one more friend who is in your corner fighting for you and cheering for you and supporting you. That is
mm.
all if you want more from me, I will be more. But if you don't want more from me,
Sure.
that's not going to hurt my feelings. I don't need
Right.
you to. So yeah, and we have had, even some family, like Jamie's mom and sisters and stuff, they have a real close family and they're like, we want to get all together, all of us together. And I've been really reserved about that because think about it, when you're 25 and all of a sudden you're not even living at home, your parents split, new families come, and now so many people expect
Yeah.
them to think, well, this is your new grandmother. They don't need a new
Yeah.
grandmother.
They don't
They
even
have a
know them.
grandmother.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't need new aunts and uncle, So
Right.
we're very odd,
That's
and because they're all grown, we want them to have time building a bond because they don't live in the same house. They're not under a roof. So let's don't water that down with extras. We're very protective over like the
mm,
main unit of our family.
that's really cool. I've not heard that. I like it. I think that's a wise thing.
I just want to respect them. And I know if I was 25 and my parents split and my mom got a whole new life,
Hmm.
it wouldn't involve me. I was busy
Your
getting
own
married,
life.
having my kid,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and Christmases are
Wow.
different, Thanksgiving, but like the pressure of like, well, you need to accept them as your sister. Or you need to,
Right.
absolutely not. Like that, my story is not their story.
Right.
You know?
So, what does that look like in the Christian world? Like, do people question you? Do they want to change that? Do they accept it? What does that look like?
I think the way I see it is I like the Lord blessed me with these kids, and I didn't 100% do right by them. And I know that. I'm aware of that. I brought them
Mhm.
into a very toxic relationship
Mhm.
and I rode that relationship out way too long. And I honor them and I respect them. And I don't feel like I've never been the kind who has thought, I'm the parent, you respect me. No, I think respect is a two-way street. You
Mhm.
don't owe me respect just because I am who I am. If I want respect from you, I need to honor and respect you in
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
I've got to lead by example, right? You're
Right.
never going to know what something is if you aren't shown it first. And I want to be the friend that I want them to be to me. So I'm not ever
That's
going
good.
to shove something down their throat. And I
That's
think
good.
I've prayed about it and feel like God has just laid on my heart, especially because I know that Jamie's family has been disappointed that, they want to have a big Thanksgiving and they want all of my kids to come. And I think that's so sweet. And it's well
Sure.
intended,
Sure.
right?
Yes.
But if it's going to mean my kids not wanting to be there or my kids not, I, I want every minute I have with my kids and grandkids. I don't want to share that with anybody.
Right.
So, I
Right.
mean, I'm so like, the time is little and
Yeah.
I'm
For
protected
sure.
for it.
Yep. That's
So
great. So we're running out of time, which I can't believe this went so quickly. What is one thing that you would like to say to a woman who is struggling to try to figure it all out? Like she may be where you were, just staying there until they're a certain age, or that she may be past that. Like, what's one thing that you would want to say to someone in a really hard season trying to figure it out?
give yourself grace. This
Mm,
is our first time going through this. I think the biggest thing that I have learned is to show myself forgiveness. I forgive a lot of
Mm.
people, but I'm real hard on myself. And I
Yeah.
feel like even still to this day, I mean, even in the conversation we've had, I've said things like, I still carry the weight of unforgiveness for myself.
Mm.
And again, I was just doing what I knew to do or what
Right.
I was being guided to do. And I still am working on that. Show yourself grace. There is nothing in life is perfect. And honestly, nothing in life is expected. We all find ourselves in situations, but show yourself grace and learn to love yourself
Mm.
well. Because if you can love yourself well, you're letting room for other people. I tell my 19-year-old daughter this all the time. You love yourself so well and you create a lifestyle that you love so much. There's peace, there's happiness, there's joy. You're doing the things that make you happy, that when anybody comes into that, anybody, I don't care if it's a guy, if it's a girlfriend, whoever, anybody comes into that, it is so obvious that they're disrupting what you have created or they're adding to it. And the minute
Mm.
someone is disrupting it, they've got to go. They've got to go.
Mm. Yeah.
Because you've got to be gentle with yourself and rebuild the wreckage that we've gone through so you can be there for
That's
others.
good.
And I think that until you tame this, anybody's actions, it's going to be a
Mm.
reaction.
Yeah.
And until you can get control over
Yeah.
here,
I agree.
you know,
Yeah. I mean, and that's biblical. Like you love others. You can't love someone else unless you care about yourself or love yourself first. So I think those are very wise words.
thank
So
you.
thank you. Thank you for
Thank
coming on and sharing and being so open with your story.
Of course. I just, yeah, I feel like we go through things, right?
We
And
do.
they're not fun.
Yep.
But if we can be brave enough to share our story,
Mm.
it can help. I wish so badly someone was brave enough with me when I was in the throes of the hard
Right.
to remind me that we go through hard. You're not
Yes.
alone, but you
Not
can
alone.
get to the other side. So
Mm.
I will always share my story in hopes that it helps somebody else.
Amen to that. And I'm sure it will. And as you continue to do it. So thank you again.
Of course. Thank you.
And yeah. And thank you, listener, for joining us today. I'll be back next week. I hope you are too.